Good evening, everyone. I'd like to officially call to order the June 10th, 2025 meeting of the O'Fallon, Missouri Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Elder.
Present.
Mr. Hester.
Present.
Mr. Kester.
Present.
Ms. Snyder.
Present.
Ms. Williams.
Present.
Ms. Wilson.
Present.
Councilmember Roth.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Fantastic. All right. We're going to do the pledge. Nicole, will you lead us to that?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everyone, as usual, has sent a copy of tonight's agenda, so you had an opportunity to review that. Are there any questions, comments, additions, corrections to that agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve that agenda?
Wilson.
Wilson, can I have a second?
Snyder.
Snyder, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, our agenda is official for the record. Additionally, we had a set of meeting minutes, very thorough, as always, sent to us as well. This was actually from the April meetings. We all know last month it officially wasn't a meeting because we did not have a quorum. So knowing that everybody had an opportunity to review those, are there any questions, comments, additions, or corrections to that? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion for those to be approved?
Wilson.
Wilson, second.
Snyder.
Snyder, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, our meeting minutes for April 8th are officially on record. Okay, moving on. Next item is citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments tonight? We do have an audience. I want that to be known. These are televised. And we do have an audience tonight, so thank you for participating. I would really put you on the spot and ask you to stand up and say something, but I won't. But thank you for coming. We appreciate that.
We are the best board to observe.
Yes, we are. Okay, well then, next item on the agenda is the division reports. We'll start with the Parks report.
All right. My name's Jeremy Wolfmeyer. For those that you don't know me, I'm the park superintendent and work quite closely with Bill. I'm going to give you kind of a little bit of overview of what we've been doing in May. Something that a lot of people don't think about, but I kind of want to do a shout out to our crew leader, Brian Hawkins, who tested all of our backflow preventers. That's a pretty tedious job. It's a test that he had to study for really long and to pass, and he saves us a lot of money by not only testing those for us, but making all the repairs to those. That's on nearly every facility we have, irrigation system. It keeps water from backing up into your drinking water, so very important piece of equipment. So anyway,
Jeremy, excuse me, what was it that he's,
it's a backflow preventer. It's in the water line.
okay, so it's one piece of machinery?
It is, but they're on every building, every irrigation system. So I think he tested upwards around 54, I believe, this time around. So, yeah. All right, and then with that, this past month I did spend a lot of time with staff preparing the 5-year CIP. So now that's ready, Bill and Craig can kind of arm wrestle on who gets what. So that'll be an interesting process going forward. The construction team has done quite a bit of work lately up at the stadium, as you can see in some of the pictures. So there's some parking lot pictures, not too exciting about a parking lot, but we're doing some full depth repairs, which is where you're improving or fixing the base layer of the parking lot with anticipation of it being overlaid by a contractor in the fall. Another thing they did was they installed a new scoreboard at the stadium. If you haven't seen it, it turned out really, really great. It was desperately needed. It's out in center field at the CarShield Stadium, and the colors match with the Hoots color and the O'Fallon as well. So please check that out. Something we kind of did that was exciting today. I can't believe it's already here, but we picked for the operating schedule for the park staff to assist with the Heritage and Freedom Festival setup. So we had 58 spots we had to fill with staff, and we picked that by seniority between our full-time and seasonal staff. And so that's always a fun process to kind of get over and get under our belt so everyone knows who's working when and can kind of plan their holiday time as well. All right, let's see here. All right, we've been doing a lot of hail replacement. We had that hailstorm last year. Still a lot of work to be done, but the tin on dumpster enclosures, shades. Brennan's Playground has about half of the shades replaced now. We still have 2 more we got to put up. Those will be done in July. Brennan's Playground is really looking nice. In the last couple of years, we've gotten a new playground component, new turf. Now the shades are getting fixed, and it looks darn close to new again. So super excited about that, and definitely the residents are enjoying that very much. Another project I'm super excited about is LED lights. If you've been up to Ozzie lately, you'll notice a huge improvement. We did complete the car shield at Car Shield Field. That got completed in April, which they probably already, yeah, it did turn out really nice. Ozzie is, I'd say, about 90% complete. We have 2 poles between fields B and D that are holding a lot of water, and we couldn't get to it. So the contractor did have to leave. They're going to come back after the 4th and finish that up as long as we have some dry conditions to get to those 2 poles. It should work out pretty nice because we'll have some fence down likely from HFF anyway. Once that gets completed, then they're going to install a portion of it that's for scheduling. So now Craig and Kristen's team can schedule. It's not Kristen anymore, which will be a good thing. Her concession workers turn on lights manually right now, but they'll be able to schedule them from their desktop or an app for all the lights. And it also follows daylight savings, so it's not coming on too soon, things like that. The other thing about the lights, there's not near as much, I call it bleed off, but a lot of times the old lights would light up all the back of the houses at Car Shield Field. When you go up there and look now, not anymore. It's directional light, and it goes where it's supposed to. So huge improvement. Again, can't say how excited I am about that. We did install some security cameras up at Ozzie. We still have a couple more to get put in, but we hope that'll help we haven't had a lot of vandalism at Ozzie, but occasionally it happens, and that seems to be a really good deterrent for us, and plus gives the police officers something to look at when something does occur. In the packet as well, we got to participate in Public Works Fair on May 21st. That's put on by the Public Works Department, and they're kind enough to, we host it in our park, and they do let us bring some of our equipment up. So I know Bob talked to you guys quite a bit about the turf tank robot last time when he was here. But if you look in your packet, you'll see we did a demo, and we sprayed the Parks and Rec logo, and it really turned out nice. So we were excited. That was kind of a last-minute decision that we had, and we're like, what can we do different? Like, wait a minute, let's do this. So the guys did a dry run the day before, and it worked out beautifully. And then we were able to set it up, and the kids enjoyed watching that quite a bit.
What type of equipment did that?
That was the turf tank paint striper that does all the athletic fields. Yeah, we've got the Parks and Rec logo loaded and an American flag loaded up into that.
How long does it take to do that?
That was about an hour and a half. It was around that. I don't know the exact time, but it takes a while, depending on the size and the type of logo that it does.
And how long will that stay?
Till we mow it off.
Okay. So it'll stay there until it's mowed.
Yeah, it's been about three weeks, so I didn't notice it today when I was up there. I wasn't specifically looking for it, but it was there for a good 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how the grass is growing, that time of year, that kind of thing. But yeah, it stays for a little bit. One thing that we're always excited to be a part of, and we set up for a lot of special events to assist with tourism festivals, but we are super excited when Jammin' kicks off. The guys really take pride in helping set that up, and we are especially excited this year with the improvements that were made to the bandstand. Just something for people to look at when they're sitting there that we can be proud of. So we were excited to get that going, and yeah, just a good time. That was a good project for our construction team to get that done. And then lastly, I'll finish up out at O'Day Park on the land bridge. We had a little bit of concrete popping on the handrail area, so we did make some repairs to that. And then the rock wall, It never was just quite finished, in my opinion. It kind of stopped, and then the dirt would erode around it and things like that onto the turf. And so the guys did finish that this past week. We still got to order a few handhelds of the rock wall to climb for the kids to use. But we were overdue to get that taken care of. So with that ends my report, and I'll stand for any questions you guys may have.
Questions or comments?
The bandstand, I work the jam and concerts, and I've had a lot of comments from the public about the bandstand and how well it looks. I mean, people have been very pleased with it. Our regulars, I should say, have been very pleased with that. Has there been any other issues at Westhoff Park with the cameras and the vandalism there? I haven't heard anything lately about that.
The last thing that happened, I think you guys were told about, was in the wintertime. We had somebody, when it was icy and snowy out, go up and drive on the ball field. That's the last thing. There might have been a hand dryer one time, but I'm pretty involved with those. So when that happens, I'm the one kind of pulling the security camera footage, getting it to the officers, and then they're getting it taken care of and getting the city reimbursed. So it's night and day difference from before the cameras and before we had the park police officers. It's very infrequent that it's occurring now.
Excellent. Are there cameras now in every park, everywhere?
Not in all the parks. A lot of that is tied to city network infrastructure. There are some things we're working on with the IT department to get network into some of the parks that don't have it. So there's some things that happen once we get network into our parks. We make improvements to the lock system, and then we also get the security cameras. So that's kind of how that follows. So next year will likely be a little bit of a pause on adding cameras in some of the other parks until we can get that network in, and then I'll budget for it and get that done. We did purchase some kind of cameras that we can just put up in a situation where maybe we don't have a camera there, or we don't have a part that has network that the police can utilize if we're having a specific problem, though.
Thank you. I also had a question about Wetzel Park. I was talking to some fishermen about people who like to go out fishing, and they were asking me about stocking the lake and how often it's stocked. I couldn't answer their question. So I want to know, how often is it stocked and what do they stock it with? The one thing that the fishermen were telling me, there were 3 different people that like to go to the different places to fish, and they were telling me that the Wetzel is just really tiny fish. So I don't know if they're just not really good fishermen, or I just don't know I'd like to know a little bit more so I could answer some questions about that.
I can tell you I was sent a picture of a catfish that was probably about 4 foot tall. I wish they would have kept it. It's probably eating a lot of the fish. I think it might have been brought in. So we stock 3 times a year with catfish, and that's what we are allowed. We allow them to harvest the catfish from the lake. Everything else is catch and release. And then usually in the spring and then again in the fall, we'll do some small bait fish it's pretty interesting to watch. As soon as you put them in, I think they're gone pretty quickly. But there's some good sized fish in there. I can kind of check in with the crew leader over there and talk with him. He's a fisherman himself, and get a little bit more detail. But when we did stock the lake, that was something we did with the Missouri Department of Conservation, and they helped us stock various sizes to make sure we had the proper growth in the lake and things like that. But can't stop everybody from taking fish they shouldn't be. We try, but we're mainly stock 3 times a year with catfish and let those be the ones they harvest.
I just have a curious question about mowing. What's that been like over the past 2 or 3 weeks?
It's not been great.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I'll be honest. I've had a few. We fell short a couple times, and not really any fault of anybody. It just has been difficult to keep up with.
Yeah.
The grass was, growing very vastly. So we were kind of strategically keeping up on athletic fields where people had to play, and we were letting some of the other areas getting shaggy. We're getting back to normal now, though, and we just fertilized again this week and treated for grub worms, that kind of thing. So we're going to see Ozzie green up a little bit more. It was really green, and then when you mow, if you have to start mowing too much off, it does stress the grass. You wouldn't think so in such a wet season, but now that we're kind of a little bit more stable with our mowing and getting some more nitrogen in the ground, that'll turn around. But yeah, it's been a challenge. it's kind of like when you mow your yard the first time at home, at least how I feel. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then after that, it's a chore, right? So they got a good taste of it right off the bat.
Well, I can't say that I noticed anything that looked derelict or even bad, to be honest with you. I just thought to ask because it's been, we all know, pretty brutal with the rain, so.
Yeah, we had the bulk of our seasonal start like mid-May, and the full-time staff were really relieved because that's what we needed. We needed extra bodies to be on mowers, be on weed eaters. There's a lot to do in those parks, so that they were excited to have them start.
I bet.
I have a question about several months ago, we had a presentation on the type of flowers and such that were being planted in the parks and the varieties and that. Had asked if it would be possible to identify, since you have the experts and there are a lot of citizens who enjoy gardening too, if it would be possible to list what flowers, what plants were being planted, and some information about them. And it was suggested that it would be possible to put that up on the website. Do you know if that actually has become a project? If that's
I do not know, but I can look into it and we can get back to you in next month's report. I know Bob always does kind of a YouTube video, and I would have to look and see if it's out there, but generally he'll kind of talk about the types of flowers and the different color choices he makes for the different locations. But what you're kind of looking for is something on the website. Hey, here, this is what we're planning this year, and this is where you can kind of find it.
right?
Okay.
What it is, actually, as much information as you could put up there.
Sure.
When does it bloom?
Location.
Where it is. And
Okay. Yep. I will bring that up at our next staff meeting. Thank you.
Kathy, are you happy with the?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I've already emailed Bob.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Let them know.
Yeah, let him know.
I think they look good.
I do too.
Yeah.
The baskets look really pretty. I go buy them every day.
Guess the good thing is the watering's been pretty easy as of late.
Yes. I think we're gonna get a switch though. I think it's.
Oh yeah. Eventually. So.
I kind of hope so.
Yeah.
I do too. I'm tired of rain.
Yeah, well, we all are. Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. That's great. Any other comments or questions? All right. Perfect. Appreciate it. Recreation report. Great.
Thanks, Scott. A lot going on for us. I'll just try to run through a few things. The 2025 park passports are complete, and we've already started passing those out at a number of events. The first Get Out and Play Day of the year will kick off later next week, June 18th at Sports Park. We had 3 lock-ins at the Renaud Center last month. We had another one just this past week. That's a lot of lock-ins for us. Chelsea Davis was hired as a full-time recreation assistant. That gets us back up to full staff for the front desk. We have 9 participants registered for the Jersey Boys trip to the Muni in August. We went through a process of changing our clearinghouse for our credit cards. So that's been kind of a thing that staff's been working through. We used to use ETS, now we're using PayTrack, which is a company that goes along with our RecTrack software. So they're doing our credit card processing. We were having a lot of problems with ETS. We were dealing with a lot of issues. I think a lot of those issues, John's smiling because he deals with all these issues. But I think we fixed a lot of those, so things have been a lot better for that. But it's been a whole process. We've had to have people put in their credit card information into our RecTrack system so we can do our charging for memberships and other programs. So that's been something staff's been working through. Fitness department's first ever Derby Challenge encouraged participants to walk or run 1.25 miles around the Renaud Center track. Members really enjoyed that. We had an increase in personal training last month. We brought in almost $7,000. The concession team recently hired 2 new concession supervisors to work the outdoor stands. What's nice about that is getting those older supervisors so that we can sell alcohol at Ozzy and making sure that we are with our liquor license, making sure we are up to date with that. We installed a new soda fountain machine at the Renaud Center. It gives us 3 more sodas at Renaud Center. And it also gives us flavors that we can add to it. So certain people in this room are very excited about that. We had 6 wedding receptions scheduled at Krekel Civic Center during the summer and fall. And what's different about that is we don't do a lot of wedding receptions at Krekel. O'Day, of course, has a lot of wedding receptions, but we usually do other types of parties. Now we're starting to get a lot of wedding receptions at Krekel, so that's been nice. It's been a good addition to a lot of the rentals we have there. First week of camp came and went. We survived it. Our first week is always a little bit smaller just because some schools are out, but not all of them. But it gives the staff a great chance to kind of work through some issues. And so all 3 camps are doing really well. Camp runs through August 8th, of course. We have a lifeguard class coming up in the second week of June, which will put us over 140 guards for the season. So we're back to where, I even hate to say this, we're back to where we've got plenty of part-time staff, which allows us to get better quality staff because then we can pick and choose who we want to hire. Pool's open, doing great when we can't open it. The weather's been really tough. Concession has been really tough just because we're having trouble getting tournaments in on the weekends, that kind of thing. So the weather's really been something we're struggling with, but eventually we'll get through that and we'll have a great summer. That's all I have.
That's a lot of information. Appreciate that. Any comments or questions?
Just that the passports, we've been handing out the passports at GM and they're very popular. People are really enjoying them, and there's lots of information in them. So there was a really good job on that this year.
It is. I would agree with that. It's a great job, and they look really well, don't they? They're a very nice piece.
Did we get one of the new ones? Did we get one of those?
We can get them.
I will comment. I know from firsthand experience that there are plenty of lifeguards. I've got a couple of boys that are complaining a little bit because their hours aren't as frequent as they were in the past.
The same thing at home.
Yeah. They're like, I'm not scheduled for a week. What's going on? Whereas in the past, it's been like, relentless. So that's the give and take of that situation.
Well, Scott, that's how it starts in the summer. At the end of the
That's
summer.
what I tell them. I'm like, just wait. It'll weed out over time. So, awesome. Okay. Well, if there's no other comments or questions, then we'll move on to the tourism and festivals report.
Opening night, Sixth and Musical was on June 6th. I saw it on Saturday. The young ladies who do if anybody knows the premise of that play is it's the 6 queens of Henry VIII or 6 wives of Henry VIII. They do an exceptional job. So if you enjoy going to the theater, it's well worth it. They do an excellent job. It was really exciting. They sold out all last weekend, so all 3 shows were sold out. They'll do it again next weekend, the Friday and Saturday show, evening show, and then the matinee on Sunday. We had Dine and Discover scheduled for last Saturday. It was canceled. We had about 8 people. So we're working on how to present that the next production that we do. We had an opening reception a couple weeks ago for the art galleries. We had a decent turnout. Jammin' opening night was May 27th. We had Count of Monte Carlo to kick off the season. We had about 800 plus. Last week we had Wildfire, and tonight we have Joe Dirt and the Dirty Boys. And I was mentioning to somebody as I was coming in, it looks like they've got a pretty decent crowd. So Joe Dirt and the Dirty Boys are always a big hit. Heritage and Freedom Fest, carnival tickets are now on sale. You can find that on the city website. $25 plus fees in advance, or it's $35 in fees on site. Parade applications, it says 65 plus, but I think they were at 72 is what I heard today. They had the vendor meeting last week. Parade packet pickup was June 11th, and then the volunteer meeting is June 25th. That's all I have.
A lot happening in the next 30 days, that's for sure, or less than that, 3 weeks. Okay, if there's no comments or questions, and we will move on. Thank you for the division reports. Always like to hear those. Doesn't look like there's anything on the agenda for old business. All right, and we've got 2 items on the agenda under new business, and the first one is community engagement presentation from Kristen Fenderberg.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you all this evening? This touch screen
Wonderful.
makes me nervous every time I come up here. I start clicking stuff. So thank you for having me. I just wanted to come up here and introduce myself and also give you guys just a little bit of a rundown on what's been going on in the world of community engagement. I think it's been over a year now, maybe, since the last time I was up here, and some new faces. So I will start with introducing myself and my team. So I supervise 2 individuals in the recreation department. Katie Elzer is our new concessions and party specialist. She started with us just back in March, the end of March. So if you are booking a birthday party at Alligators Creek or the Renaud Center, she is your gal. And she also oversees all the concession stands at Ozzie, Westhoff, Sports Park, Renaud, Alligators Creek, and the list seems to go on and on. That's the reason we're excited for our new soda machine with flavor shots that Craig is also excited for. Don't let him fool you. I also get to work with Allie. She is our recreation specialist over venues and weddings. So O'Day Lodge, Krekel Civic Center, the pavilions, the field rentals. If it is rentable, she is probably one of the people you are working with. And then when I'm not helping them, I am working on all things community engagement. So that is all of our marketing and sponsorship efforts, and really anything that kind of helps bridge that gap between what we have going on and the community and what they need to get plugged into. So today I'm just going to kind of go over the 3 areas that are high touch points for me. So a little social media overview. It's been doing really well, so I figured I'd dive in and just give you guys some extra information about kind of what I look at and what's really going on behind the scenes when you're scrolling. Also give you a sponsorship update and some updates on our community outreach initiatives like the Little Park Passport. I'm really glad to hear that people are excited about that, so thank you for sharing. So we will start with the fun part. I get to supervise 6 pages that represent the Parks and Recreation Department. So for a lot of people, they just think, oh, social media is a fun job. And it is a fun job, don't get me wrong, but it is a lot of back-end work behind the scenes, especially when you are in charge of 3 different Facebooks and 3 different Instagram pages. And a lot of them share content, but we have 3 of each for a reason. So we have the Parks and Recreation Facebook and Instagram pages. Those are kind of the all-encompassing. So anything we have going on, that is probably getting shared on that platform. It is my giant puzzle, I like to call it. We're rarely trying to figure out what we could plug in there. And that's where you'll see things like the Main Street basket video, I think that Communications just made with Bob. That'll get shared up there. Anytime we've done fun crossovers or fun little things with the Parks Department, that goes there. And then, of course, event and program promotions as well. The Renaud Center is very focused on all things Renaud. Obviously, we want to push memberships over there and really highlight the fitness center, but it's the community hub for OFallon. So even if it's not happening there, if we know that it's something that members might have an interest in seeing, we'll cross-promote. And OFallon Theater Works is where it gets super kind of drilled in just to be theater specific. That has probably really become my favorite, don't tell the others, over the past couple of months, largely because the directors and the cast and crew have really leaned into helping me build that content. And obviously they have a passion for each show that they do, and that translates, I think, to what we're sharing. So it's almost like every quarter we're revamping what that page's voice is, and I get to learn about each show, and it's been fun. So I figured I would just kick up one thing that's kind of something that I look at just to provide an example for you guys. This chart shows a breakdown of our followers by gender and by age group. So the pink is the number of females that are following the O'Fallon Parks and Recreation Facebook page, and the black is the number of males. So you can see we have a pretty massive female following. So some of the things that I look at when I am planning our post and trying to make sure that we're maximizing the results and getting the reach that we need is who are we looking at? So this might be one of those things. I know I'm primarily speaking to women ages 35 to 54. That's our big chunk of our demographic. And so that's kind of, you know, the who and then what's the what. So what do those women probably have on their radar? I would guess that a lot of them are mothers and they have children. They're wanting to tap into maybe different programs or events or just get out and explore the parks in general. I can also break it down and see, obviously, a lot of them come from O'Fallon, but we have St. Peter's, Wentzville, St. Charles, across the river into West St. Louis County with Chesterfield, Maryland Heights, Creve Coeur. We have followers kind of from that whole area. So that means we are drawing people in, which is where the tourism and festival piece really comes into play, because I think that's what's capturing them. They probably have swim lessons a little bit closer than O'Fallon, but they may not have a jam and concert or a Heritage and Freedom Fest quite as close. So we're drawing them in that way. And that also kind of plays into like the when are they online, when are we posting and trying to reach them. So if I were to guess it, some of them are moms. Maybe 3 o'clock on a school day is not a great time to try to see if they're scrolling Facebook, because they're probably in a school pickup line. Or 7:30 in the morning, they're probably a little bit busy trying to get people out the door. So, and then the why, again, like why are they here? What, all of that kind of culminates to that one moment. And that's where the brand awareness kind of comes from looking at who we are speaking to. Then I get to read even more numbers, which I always joked with people I went into marketing and communications because I don't like math, but it still kind of makes its presence known. We look at something called views and reach. That's actually two different metrics that I think a lot of people use interchangeably. So our reach is referring to the number of unique individuals we are getting in front of. So I'll use Teresa as an example. If she looks at a post 5 times, she is 1 reach, 5 views. So that's why you can look at views and they may seem astronomical, but really looking at that reach and seeing how many different individuals we're talking to means a lot more as well. So it kind of gives us both just so we can compare, and that also goes to show how many impressions we're kind of making on people. Like, okay, a Celebration of Lights post maybe has far more reaches than it does views. That means that ad is probably coming across someone's feed a couple of times, which is great because we know that when it comes to marketing, sometimes you have to hit multiple times. Interactions are the most important from my side. If you comment, like, share, save, reply, whatever it may be on something that tells Facebook, hey, this is like important, people find this interesting, I'm going to put it in more feeds of people who have somewhat similar interests, demographics, backgrounds, etc., of the people who have interacted with this post. And that then teaches Facebook's algorithm to keep bumping us up. So liking, commenting, sharing like a couple of posts every once in a while actually kind of helps all of them perform better and is always greatly appreciated. And then again, the audience demographics, I really honed in on that previous slide. But this one I also look at, we do a lot of sponsored advertisements on Facebook with our tourism and festival events. So Jam and Events, Heritage and Freedom Fest, and I can kind of really drill down and make sure I'm reaching people who either live in the right place or have the right interests so that it's hitting those individuals rather than people who, maybe it's not any interest or relevance to. So I really then just wanted to show you some examples of posts that have done well in the last couple of weeks, one from each page, and explained why it worked. So for this one, it is just a general post about Alligators Creek Aquatic Center hours. one thing that Meta Business Suite allows me to do is schedule posts based on when our users are online. So timing is kind of everything. Typically for the Parks and Rec page, 7 to 8 p.m. is that sweet spot. So if I schedule something in there, that's when people are kind of scrolling on their phones. That's definitely when I'm scrolling on my phone. And so making sure we're scheduling those at the time that makes the most sense obviously helps a post perform. Speaking of rain, I know that's a trend in our department. I think seeing a picture right now that's colorful, bright, and makes you think I could be outside, it emits an emotional response. So I think that did well. We had a lot of people tagging one another. So that's where that engagement piece comes in, and just saying we should go here, this would be nice when summer finally starts, and that just helps drum this up. So this one had about 70,000 views and 166 interactions. So again, that's 166 different comments, like shares, saves, etc. OTW, again, these kids for 6 really had some fun with their content. This one got 1.4 million views, which is quite a lot for us. And I think for a couple of reasons, again, one thing that's true across all of our pages is if we humanize our page a little bit, we tend to be a little bit more relatable. So showing the people who are really going into the behind the scenes of either putting a program on, taking care of our parks, or even the end user of the little kids enjoying their T-ball season. All of that is again, it's more relatable than seeing maybe a stock photo that you can tell is a stock photo or just another graphic. You can make that connection. It's that human-to-human experience. These guys capitalized on a really popular trend on Instagram and TikTok right now. We can't use TikTok, but we can go ahead and put it in Reels on our Instagram page. And it was essentially, one of them was actually singing and the rest of them were lip syncing, and it was guess who is actually singing. And so again, it kind of, is popular, so we could put in the hashtags, and it's the kind of content that people are interacting with a lot, so then it was popping up on pages. And then, of course, all 12 of them in the video shared it, which helped it kind of, perform better as well. So the other thing I went ahead and pulled because I thought it was interesting was within a week of this being shared, which is when it trended upward, we sold about 156 tickets to the show. So that just goes to show that also then resonates on that return on the other side. And then the Renaud Center, people. The Renaud Center pages, anytime we are showing staff, incredible performance of our posts. I think our trainers and our regular members are all testaments to that. That's one thing that's pretty true in the fitness community is people like to cheer people on, especially people that they know. So when we make posts like this, they usually get a lot of interactions, and it just goes to show who's really up there, and using the facility and not just passive, here's another thing you can sign up for. Also, just kind of that nerdy geek out moment. We made sure to mention the Cardinals in the copy, because what that does, we were kind of on that little win streak that we had going there for a while. We might still have it going. I don't know. I don't pay enough attention. But I kind of made sure to mention that, because what that does is Facebook's like, oh, a post about the Cardinals? XYZ just liked a post about the Cardinals. I'm going to show this to them. And so it'll pop up. So making sure I'm kind of paying attention to what's really going on and capitalizing on moments like that helps our posts perform well as well. That's really just social media in a nutshell. We also do a lot of other marketing initiatives to make sure we're reaching demographics that maybe aren't represented on social media. So we do e-newsletters. The city does weekly updates that they put our information in. Google reviews are always a big one for us. We'll put good old-fashioned flyers out in all the parks and the bulletin boards, as well as the flyer wall at the Renaud Center. We started a senior circle newsletter, and then we have various different print ads in publications, on billboards, you name it. We're probably doing some sort of touch point with it, because again, people seeing it multiple times is what's going to yield the results that we are looking for. So there's still a lot of challenges and opportunities that come with the marketing side of things. Of course, time. I'm one person, and just doing, I think I spent 5 hours today just on social content creation and planning and scheduling for a week. So obviously, like, one day can be dedicated just to that piece. And of course, we want to do some research to see what's going on, making sure that we're capitalizing on those trends or following those trends, you know, coming up with visuals from different programs and events. There's always something going on. So I try to get to stuff. Communications tries to get to stuff. We ask staff if they're thinking about it, if they can snap photos. A lot of the times, like, volunteer coaches or instructors, we'll ask them to share photos with us. Camp does a really good job. So getting those visuals is something that's always top of mind for all of us. And then, of course, just continuing to be creative. I always introduce myself at chamber events as the representative of the fun department. The whole city's fun, don't get me wrong, but we play for fun, or for work. So that's always nice, and that, I think, translates really well and helps our pages specifically be a little bit more relatable. Are there any marketing questions before I dive into sponsorship? Yeah.
Don't need to talk numbers especially, but on what's your budget for paid ads on the social media? Is there a number?
I don't remember it off the top of my head. It's by event.
Okay.
So we work out of 3 different funds. So the Renaud Center has its own budget. Parks and Recreation, non-tourism and festivals, has its own budget. And then tourism and festivals specifically has a significantly larger budget. And that's where a lot of the paid ads are going to.
Are you thinking hundreds of dollars or
Yes.
$1,000 or? If you don't know.
Couple thousand,
Okay, yeah.
I think.
What's your reach? Are they giving you the numbers?
Yeah, I'd have to drill down and really go look, and we haven't. We're just now getting into the thick of it for this year, but it varies and it depends. So for jam and concerts each week, I'm not really trying to go that far. It's more of an awareness of making sure our maybe 12-mile radius around Civic Park, I think, is what I do, is aware. Whereas Heritage and Freedom Fest, there's a lot of bigger radiuses throughout the entire region. And so just depending on how much we budget and how long we run the ad for kind of determines how well it does.
And you think that's paying off in what you're seeing with some of these? I mean,
Absolutely.
Or whatever on that theater.
Yep, absolutely. And we definitely budget more in circumstances where maybe there's ticket sales, because there's money coming in to kind of help offset that. But then, of course, you know, like Heritage and Freedom Fest, Celebration of Lights is ticketed. But those larger things where we're trying to pull more people in, we definitely will spend more to reach further regionally. Yeah.
Do you have people that you can tap to take videos of important things like the theater?
Try.
Video of some exciting part in one of the plays, or at the Freedom Fest, or at the Jam and concerts, and that.
Yeah, so I definitely try. The O'Fallon Photo Club comes out to a lot of our stuff and helps with quite a few photos, especially on larger events and things like the O'Fallon Theater Works shows. The OTW casts, I tell them all the time, like, you are the faces, like, you and obviously they have a love and a knack for acting and wanting to kind of show that off because they're about to do it on stage, but they really get into it, and I know I can rely on them to understand, like, this is the kind of content we're looking for. We also, you know, that's where having a large part-time staff of such young people is kind of nice, because they understand, and one thing I didn't touch on is, especially with the video, it's the quality of the content, not the quality of the production when it comes to those portrait style, quick reel videos. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and that's kind of nice. And they all know how to make these videos, and we do encourage them, you know, if there's a trend that you like, that you want to try, go ahead and try it. I may veto it if it's not appropriate, or ask, you know, if we need to redo something, but definitely helpful having such a younger part-time staff that is capable and willing to jump in and be a part of that.
Do you recruit any other city employees on a regular basis when you have something you posted? Do you do a little flash notification to say, hey, would you take a look at this and share it on your page if you like it, in order to try to get employees, recruit them to help you?
Oh, like asking employees to then share stuff from our own page. Sometimes we do that. I will say there's quite a few active City of O'Fallon employees that I do see share stuff a lot. And I have a very close relationship with the team upstairs in communications so that we make sure we're kind of cross-sharing stuff from one another on a regular basis and getting it out there. But we did just recently, one example I think that really did well and goes to show that people like seeing themselves and showing people that they did something. There's a national wear your life jacket to work day, and it's always right before we do our life jacket drive. So Carolyn and I spent a good half a day going around the different departments who were all willing to participate. We did ask in advance, but it was really fun to see environmental services went ahead and had Roscoe put on a life jacket. So that was really fun. Our streets department, those guys were so excited. One of them was like, that one matches my Harley, let me wear it. Take a couple pictures of me, send it to me. So it's definitely something that when we do get them involved, and I actually was just telling Craig today a couple of other ideas to get departments involved for some other stuff. Everybody is pretty quick to jump on board and supportive of what we do. So that is much, much appreciated. Any other marketing questions?
You'd mentioned briefly about comments. I was wondering how much time you answer every comment that comes across, and how much time are you spending on that? Who does that?
Me. It's me. I am the face or the voice behind all three of those pages pretty much always. Sometimes upstairs will jump in to help me on that if it gets to be a lot or if I'm out of town or something. I try to answer as many as I can. Sometimes some just slip through the cracks and you totally miss them. I've had ones where I'm like, oh no, somebody asked that a week ago. I got to get them an answer. Other times it may be something that is addressed somewhere else. And so it's kind of, I do my best to answer what I can. And even sometimes we don't have an answer. I just responded to somebody today that I was like, that's really great feedback. I will pass that on to the appropriate department for future consideration. So I try, but it is hard.
How much time do you think you spend?
Probably at least 20 to 30 minutes a day, just making sure I'm on. And it depends. Like January, not anywhere near that much. This time of year, a lot. HFF, there's going to be a lot of questions to field over the next couple weeks.
Do you feel like you get good information from people's comments and feedback? Is that giving you stuff that's usable for you?
Yeah. And it's nice because I can kind of take screen grabs and just kick it to the appropriate person. And I'll often call them and say, hey, this is what's being, I've had to refer to Jeremy a couple times actually and say, hey, I'm being asked this. How do you want me to address it? And sometimes it's send them a message and ask them to reach out to us. We can kind of go that route too. So yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll go super quick through these last couple pieces. I just wanted to give you guys some updates on sponsorships and community engagement. So we really try to make sure that we are more strategic with our partnerships. I don't like to just say, please give me your money, let me slap your logo on this, see ya. Because I just don't, that's just not who we are and what we're about and what we really want to do. Again, my job is to bridge and facilitate those connections and make sure they're meaningful partnerships. So this is just a blurb that is straight out of our sponsorship booklet. If you have never seen that, it is always available online, or I'd be happy to send it to you. It's a pretty cumbersome packet because we have a lot going on. But then you can see here, I just kind of did a breakout. Right now we're sitting at just above $57,000 in sponsorship for the year, and this is where it's coming from. A couple of those little ones that you can't really see what they are. The top super light pink is Park Passport sponsors, which was really exciting that has now developed into that kind of a program that people want to be a part of. And the tiny sliver, and it's only tiny because, in my opinion, HFF and Jammin is so large, is our Renaud sponsorships. But they are in there. They're just not a massive piece of the pie. This is just a snapshot of the last 3 years. So we did take a dip last year. I really don't know what to attribute that to be honest. In 2023, we were up from 2022. 2024 was just an odd year, especially because we have more than bounced back from that in 2025. Also in 2024, we saw a handful of new partners come on board. And we got a lot of feedback about trying to plug in more smaller businesses and make sure that all of our sponsorships are something that are affordable and worthwhile. Because as you can imagine, when you get into some of the bigger events like Jammin' and Heritage and Freedom Fest, that cost goes up because that reach gets larger with those marketing inclusions. So we're very happy that we are sitting well above where we were at last year and so close to where we were in 2023. Especially because a lot of numbers are up and there's still a ways to go. So again, these are just kind of little snapshots of 4 of the events that are well outperforming what they did last year. So again, 2024 was just an odd year. Jammin' has had insane growth. Jenna and I are actually going to evaluate that one. We are running out of sponsor space on Tuesdays, to be completely honest. I think people are really seeing the value in being able to reach people locally there. Food truck events, so Frenzy and Fright, respectively, have brought in a good amount compared to last year. And Whiskers and Wags, so that event is only 3 years old, I believe. And it has continued to grow year after year. And one sponsor, Whitebridge Pet Brands, actually came on at the lowest level when we first created the event, and they stepped up last year, and then this past year they came on as the presenting sponsor. So that kind of goes to show how that relationship building and some of that goes hand in hand, and the value that our sponsors are seeing and what we have to offer. I wanted to add to this actually, just so you can see, we have a lot more coming up, obviously, as well. We're just now in mid-June. So things like Celebration of Lights are only at 20% of where they were last year because we haven't really hammered down on hitting those yet. Fall Into the Arts is also getting up there. And then a couple late summer events at O-Day. So all of those are on a good track to at least hopefully hit, if not exceed, what they did last year. So I'm thinking it should be a pretty good year for us monetarily. And then we also track our in-kind donations. Again, Heritage and Freedom Fest is a good example of where those in-kind sponsorships go. People donate food or beverages to the VIP area. It takes a lot more than just those cash donations to pull that event off. And I want to say we're sitting at about 10,000 in-kind donations this year. And that's mostly Heritage and Freedom Fest. And there'll be a couple more that trickle in.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to comment on the Jammin' sponsoring. Completely different setup this year, and it looks really good.
Thank you.
It used to be, they used to hang things actually on the bandstand. Now they're putting it in front clearly. I mean, they're all lined up. They're all clear. Everybody can see them. And I think the public really appreciates not having the bandstand covered. So it looks really good, and it was a good idea to change that up.
Thank you. I will give all that kudos to Jenna. That is her baby. I think she worked with Mike Ray on that a little bit, and we definitely didn't want to
Put holes in it.
Yep. But we also felt when we put those posts in the ground and did it that way, it looks more like a stage. Like it kind of gives that cool with the speakers next to it. We're like, oh.
It was a good decision. That came out really nice. Yeah.
Thank you. I will let her know you said that. She was very worried about it. The first night she was, does this look okay?
Great, yeah.
I will let her know. Thank you. So again, just to kind of show you some of the challenges and opportunities, time is always, I think, one of those things that I'm up against, being one person trying to make sure I juggle everything. And with that, we really invest time into building these relationships. Like I said, we don't want to just stick somebody in something for the sake of saying, look, we exceeded our sponsorship goal. That's not the intention. So Craig and I both attend a handful of O'Fallon Chamber events throughout the year just to get to know our business community as well. Obviously, we want to know what our residents want on a personal level, but we also want to know as a business owner, what do you want to tap into? What do you want to support? And what's important to you when you do that as far as your return on your investment? And And through that, we've been able to make sure we're looking at our sponsorship values and processes every single year, which I think just continues to kind of help that growth and make sure that we're putting out a product that makes sense for the community that we're trying to reach. Sponsorship questions.
I'm just curious, what, you don't need to tell me who it is or even give the value, but I am curious, like, what is your top 2 to 3 level, like, what type of value are we talking about for a large sponsorship?
So I guess like at Heritage and Freedom Fest, you mean? So it's going to be
any
bigger Heritage and
sponsorship
Freedom
across
Fest.
the board, matter of fact, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on how you want to look at it. So we have some people that are one-offs for events like Heritage and Freedom Fest that might be investing $5,000 just in that one event. Or we have organizations that might have built a upwards of $10,000 package for the entire year.
Yeah, for different.
So it just-
places, right. I was just trying to relate then ultimately the quantity to the value that we have so far this year. Are you talking about hundreds and hundreds of sponsorships, dozens of sponsorships?
Nope, that's a good question. I want to say right now we're probably sitting at about between 50 and 55 confirmed businesses to reach that number. Last year, I think we were around the 65 to 70 threshold in total.
Yeah, I was just curious, the root of the question is just like, how many people do you have to deal with to bring in that, are you dealing with hundreds of different individuals to try to get to that value, or are you trying, are you dealing with dozens? So it sounds like it's more on the plenty of dozens, but you're not having to outreach
massive
300 or
to where
400
it's
entities to get that
unattainable.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's where Celebration of Lights, they're significantly smaller packages. So for that one event, we are trying to make sure we get information from about 26 different people, whereas Jammin', they're full and it's looking at 10,000 plus right now as far as monetary is concerned, but it's only 6 or 7 of them that make that up. And again, that goes back to just what and I'll make sure I share that with you, John, so you can send them the packet so they can look it over each event, the reach, the location, and then those values of what they get just kind of change and adjust.
And last question, because I know you've been up here a while, but on those, is there a restricted quantity, or because I heard you, I'll use Jammin', for example, I heard you say 6 or 7. So those same 6 or 7 are being repeatedly advertising each week, I guess. But if all of a sudden you had a dozen more, you'd find room for them.
That's what we're running into at Jammin' right now. So that's where we have to kind of go back to the drawing board and reevaluate because our top package for Jammin' is $1,250, and it includes a lot of on-site marketing, like the banners Teresa mentioned, some online website marketing, as well as 4 booths. So out of 10 weeks, they're getting to come to 4 nights.
Got it.
So that's where we have not run into this issue in the past where we're running out of booth space, but we kind of going back to that, we want to be good partners on our end too. I don't need 12 people trying to come to the same Jammin' because then they're really losing that value because it's too much for people to be looking at and trying to interact with. So that's a unique one. It's a really good question. It's what Jenna and I are trying to juggle right now because we feel terrible saying, yeah, come on. Oh, wait, that night's full. But also, you will find value in this, so how can we make sure it's still what you're wanting to get?
Yeah, well, it's a combination of art and science, right? When you're trying to
Exactly.
appreciate you answering this question.
Yeah, of course. The last little piece I'll touch on, sorry.
I do have one other question. And that has to do with the chamber. You said you just show up in the meetings a couple of times. Is that right? You never presented to the meetings to them?
We have not necessarily presented at anything. Craig and I go to the lunches every month. We're very fortunate that Kathy and her team have allowed us to host a few events at O'Day Lodge, Cruckle Civic Center, and the Renaud Center, so we're kind of getting to show our facilities off a little bit as well. I enjoy their morning events, a little networking coffee, so we just try to pop up and plug ourselves into what makes the most sense for our schedules.
Okay, I would suggest, since I know something about chambers, is that they are there to help support the city, which they are located, that you propose to them that you be allowed at luncheon to give a 15-minute pitch on sponsorship and advertising, including some of the information you provided to us, but also some detailed information about events, attendance, and what it would cost for them to advertise at those events. I think they would be receptive to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can, we kind of work with Kathy and Rachel on figuring out our sponsorship plug-in package at the end of every year, and I will make sure we kind of include that when we start talking to them next year. For sure. Thank you.
If you do a presentation, it makes it more personal.
Exactly. And they can put a face to the name and that. Yeah, nope, for sure. Super quick, I will run through community outreach as well, just because these are my two little pet projects, and I always like to come up and brag on them when I can. So the Park Passport has been mentioned a couple times tonight. That is live and out and about in the community. We have 3 brand new Get Out and Play Days coming this year, which really are meant to be just simple pop-up events in the park for a couple hours. They're completely free. They're always family friendly. So 8 to 800 is the way I kind of like to say it. You can come check out some more information about what we have going on in the department. But our first one, we're kind of having a basketball focus. So that's next Wednesday, June 18th at Sports Park. Where we'll just do, those good old-fashioned just basketball court kind of games that you played in PE or at recess, horse, knockout around the world. So again, super simple, just trying to showcase, hey, this is here. This is something you can always come do. You don't have to be plugged into a program or a team to necessarily enjoy these amenities. We have a super cool, to Dalton and I at least, bicycle camp coming up in August, and that will take us into our second Get Out and Play Day, which is a bicycle playground. They'll set up different ramps and stuff down at Sports Park. We thought that was kind of a nice fit with all the trail talk that's going on down there. But most importantly, they're going to make sure kids are fitted on the right bikes, the right helmets, and just making sure they're safe and having fun when they do go out and ride. And then in October, we're going to go up to Westhoff Park for some pickleball and tennis kind of racket sport vibes. We have a little bit of time to plan that one, so I don't have a ton of details yet, but that is what's going on there. We think pickleball is kind of very hyper-focused on one demographic, but it can be a family sport. And we have some ideas up our sleeves on how to make that more enjoyable for the kiddos. And just wanted to shout out the Park Passport this year. The police department is super, super helpful always in being a part of this and making the bicycle camp come to life. We got to work with BJC this year on bringing that to life, so that's a pretty massive partnership for us, and we're really, really grateful for their support in trying to encourage play. And then Renewal by Anderson is also one of our awesome sponsors this year that helped make sure we could get these printed and shared. And then Find Your Fit Week is always the week after our shutdown week, which is like 2 weeks after Labor Day or a week after Labor Day. And it's just a celebration of all things Renaud Center. So still in the works, planning that with Anne and Jenny. They're 2 new team members who oversee the fitness area. And they're going to help me kind of get this up and running and maybe give it a little revamped love this year. And hopefully we have some all new things coming down the pipeline to highlight what makes Renaud Center membership so great. And then everyone always makes fun of me because I say I'm like Leslie Knope, so I had to throw a Leslie Knope quote in here. But I just want to add that our team builds really awesome programs and events, and our community is very active and involved in events, which is what makes my job so enjoyable and so easy. So everything really would not be possible without all of those people. And then please make sure you're following all 6 pages. So.
Yeah, I've got a couple I've got to add. I was thinking,
if there's no other questions, again, I will make sure the sponsorship packet is something that gets shared with you guys so you can check it out. Yeah. Thanks.
Great presentation. A lot of information, and appreciate everything you're doing on the social media side.
Thank you.
Like I said, it's there's definitely science to it, but there's a little bit of art for sure, and figuring out how to apply your efforts where. So thank you.
So thank you.
Okay, next item on new business is the Parks and Recreation Board, the leadership structure. And we've got a vacancy of vice president. Isn't that right, Craig?
That is correct, Scott.
We had a board member who has left the board, and we all know who that was, Amanda, and she was served as the vice president. So I guess we'll undertake nominations for that role tonight, or is the goal to fill that in this meeting now?
Yes,
Or?
that is correct.
Okay.
So we'll take nominations and then vote on that.
For those of you who have been sitting up here a while, you know it's an ever important role. If the president's not here, you are taking the gavel. Other than that, I'm not sure there's a whole lot to share in terms of roles and responsibilities. So before we open it up for any motions of vice presidency, anyone want to comment or have anything they'd like to share or add or even advocate for themselves? I'm not looking at anyone. No questions. Okay. Do I have anyone up here? Maybe we'll ask first. Does anyone have some interest in filling that seat before we have to go to a volunteer situation?
I will do it. There you go. Nobody else wants to do it.
All right. Do we have, thank you, Teresa. Do we have anyone that would like to oppose her in this ever so important position? No. Okay. So I would assume we need to go ahead and make a vote for that. So, Teresa, I appreciate you stepping up. And I don't know if you have a speech you want to. Okay. All right. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Here it is.
I'm just kidding. Okay. So, all in favor of nominating Teresa to fill the role of Vice President of the O'Fallon Parks and Recreation Board, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed to that? Congratulations.
Thank you.
You are now the Vice President of the O'Fallon Park and Recreation Advisory Board. Okay. No other new business, so we're going to move on for the good of the order. And since we've moved on to the next item, I'm going to bring up, if it's okay, this is maybe not so much related to the typical good of the order, but I'm going to ask the question regarding officers and elections. Typically, that occurs in the month of...
They don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking
Sorry, I
at
didn't mean to
John
put you on
and
the spot.
He's shaking his head. So it's soon. I want to say,
I was thinking it was July.
Oh, really? I thought it was.
yeah, it very well could be.
Because it's after, in April, they change everybody around.
We will check it out and we'll shoot an email out to everybody.
Okay.
That would be nice.
All right, yeah, I just want to make sure that we're following the rules and follow the process. So, excuse me, that came out of nowhere. Okay, so,
Do we have any other people interested in being members?
yeah, do we have any update on filling at least, two or down to one vacancy here?
We have 2 vacancies.
Yeah.
So we have not, we're working on maybe adding it to some marketing that we're doing. I think we've even discussed maybe shooting a email out in one of our email blasts, just mentioning it. I talked to the mayor. He's on a couple of the council members to try to find some people to fit into our spots. And that's where we're at.
And they're specific to wards too, right? Or is it,
They are, and John might have more about this, but I think Bess has been, Bess, the city clerk, would allow us to kind of maneuver people around to fit that, knowing that we're trying to fill these 2 positions, but
Yeah, so
We need,
right now, based out on the board members remaining, Ward 3 and Ward 5 aren't represented. So there's 2 at-large spots, and then, so that we have maybe a little room, but those, we would definitely, look to get something from there, because we have 3 from Ward 4 currently, I believe.
oh. Okay. Well, I think that's a good idea that the mayor's putting a little pressure on the council to recruit some folks. I would hope that might turn up.
well, and I would ask the Parks and Recreation Board if there's any information you can pass on to somebody who might help us out. It would be
where the wards are.
it would be appreciated.
No ward funds over here.
Okay. Well, speaking of social media, maybe we can all do a little post on that. Wards 3 and Wards 5. Okay. Well, we hope to get those filled soon. All right. So we'll follow up with some communication regarding when the official officer vote should occur. Okay.
And when I say we, I mean John.
Putting a poster up at Renaud or at the,
We haven't yet. We've talked about it, but yeah, that's probably something we need to do. Yep.
Okay. And then speaking of officers and elections in July, before we started the meeting.
Or whatever
Right,
it
there
is.
was a question about, do we proceed with the July meeting? It's right on the heels, as I understand it, of
That was fourth.
the Heritage Future Fest. I know, Craig, you said you're going to be gone. Is there any opinions on that?
Is it right after?
Well, I don't know if
After
it's right.
July 9th. It's right
Oh,
after that
yeah.
week.
I think that my opinion would be, the city's exhausted.
Right.
HFF.
Right, that's what I
You
said.
know, they're all trying to.
They're done.
Yeah, they're done.
They're done.
Sorry, you guys are cooked after.
You
HFF,
guys are,
I'm
you
sorry.
guys are
Yeah.
totally done.
July 8th, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a week after.
So it's, because the 3rd, 4th, the 4th
Yeah.
and 5th is a Friday. So literally, it's
It's
the
Friday.
Tuesday. I mean, we'll still be picking up trash,
Are
by
we
the
having
time.
jamming that night?
There is a jamming concert that night, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should, no, I think we should not.
Or maybe we,
I-
The mayor wants.
Yeah,
us-
normally, I think they have the jamming concerts beforehand. I think they've canceled the one afterwards.
oh, so there's no,
Oh, I thought it was the other way around. Okay.
Yes, that they canceled the one afterwards, yes.
They did cancel after. Okay.
so there's not a.
Yeah, because that's right there, after the 4th. 'Cause that's fifth, 4th is on
Okay.
Friday, and the 5th and 6th. I mean, these guys are gonna be cleaning up.
Yeah, so Teresa, are you suggesting as well
I,
that we might?
I would suggest that we not have a meeting that particular week right after HFF.
Yeah, cancel July meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, and I know that the mayor wants us to have meetings, but I think this is an exception.
Well, yeah, he will
I
understand
mean,
that.
yeah, I think this is, we haven't canceled any
Yeah,
meetings.
well, and plus, we won't have one in December either, because the
Right,
celebration
that's-
of life.
That's our norm.
Yeah. So, I mean,
And
it's
I
not,
mean, I think
it's not like we
certainly
got a
open for
big thing
discussion.
coming
That's just
up.
my opinion, it's open for discussion.
And it's not like we got a big voting to go
Yeah.
on or anything
I,
like
I'm
that.
indifferent on it, and I mean,
You probably.
the only reason I'm a
for it.
little bit more reluctant, it's minor, is, we didn't officially have a meeting last month either.
Oh, that's true.
So I'm a little,
That's true.
know,
Not an official meeting.
yeah, we didn't have a meeting, we have a meeting, we don't have a meeting. That's why I'm a little bit
Well, it's up to you.
reluctant.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
I mean, it
Okay
can
with the
be,
meeting.
it can be, honestly, personally, I always liked having that July meeting. And when it was on the heels of it or after it, because it was kind of fun to talk about it and share things and experiences. It can be a quick meeting. We can keep the agenda simple. But I think from the sort of historical record here through the year, I think we should have a meeting.
Okay.
Does
Well,
anybody
that's
oppose that? I'm not
I
strongly.
don't oppose it.
I'm not opposing it.
I agree with you.
Okay.
We should have it.
Okay. All right. Then we're going to keep the meeting then. Okay. I appreciate the input, though. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Okay. All right. So for the good of the order, anyone like to then share anything else tonight before we make a motion to adjourn?
Wanted to thank Maria for all the work she's done at Fort Zumwalt Park. The couple events that we've been to out there is real nice. She's been promoting the park, and Mariah, sorry, what did I say, Maria? Sorry, Mariah, sorry. Yeah, the events in Fort Zumwalt Park have been nice. Trying to get the public to come up there to the park and enjoy all the facilities. The fort and the Heald House are especially important up there.
All right, I'm sorry, Craig, I should have mentioned this before, but we were talking about the wedding venues at Krekel. And you were saying you don't get a lot of interest in that building, and I think it's a really nice building for smaller weddings. So my question to you is, have you guys considered one of, possibly to make it more interesting for weddings, to put some kind of a thing around the back, like a walking path or cement pathway or something more natural where people could go out and take pictures and have a little bit of outdoor time for wedding type of guests? I know there's no doors that go out of those that back of that building. But if there was like a walkway around, because it's a beautiful picturesque area in the back of that building, and if there was a little place that we could put up some kind of picture thing, maybe it would be more interesting for people that are considering having weddings there.
Well, and I would agree with you. Let me clarify, though. The Krekel building gets rented like crazy. It's just it hasn't attracted weddings that much. So that's a little bit of a twist that we're seeing. Usually that venue is like anniversaries or birthday parties or family reunions, that kind of thing. So I think that's just a little bit of a different, it's not expected and everything, but I would agree with you. We can certainly talk with the park side and see what we can do there, with the pavilion just down the path there or something. Yeah, we can certainly do something. But yeah, it's that building gets abused with camp and all the events we have in there and Civic Dance Studio, and maintenance does a great job of keeping it in good shape and everything, but it gets used all the time.
Thank you.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything to add other than a comment I heard earlier in the presentation. We talked about pickleball, and there was a reference to demographics. I'm assuming there's a reference to maybe older adults. But I will tell you, my youngest son plays it frequently, and it's very popular.
Oh, it is with kids.
Very, very popular with kind of that sort of, 16 to 25-year-old group, I would say. Very popular. So I just thought I'd add that. Just to, it's not just old people playing pickleball. That's it.
I have nothing.
I agree. I know an 11-year-old who loves it too.
Yeah, there you go.
He and his friends love pickleball. I was just at Ozzie Smith Park for a ball game last week for the first time this year, and it was beautiful. It looks terrific this year. So.
Ozzy's looks good every year.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm looking forward to, at some point I'll have a baseball game, or my son will at it. Ozzie, so. Okay, is there any additional comments or before we make a motion to adjourn? Okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Wilson.
Anyone want to second that?
Williams.
Williams, all right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned.